Hello everyone, it's Michelle here. You're on the DIY paint page. Happy Friday night. Welcome to Friday Night Paint Therapy. Say hello when you come on. Finding myself here so I can see your comments. We're going to do some dark and decrepit and some finish work tonight. I don't know about you, but I have got so many started projects, and three of the last Friday Night Paint Therapies that I did, none of those projects have been finished, and this hamper is one of them. So, hey Suzanne, how are you? What we're going to do is I've sealed part of this, but I'm going to seal one side of it, and then we're going to move back onto the front here. And we're going, and I love how the paint finishes came out. So if you missed the first video a couple weeks ago, check it out. You can see how we went and layered. I used the new Blue Iris and Liquid Sunshine, and of course I always have to mix in my mermaid tail, and then I wet distressed it all. And tonight we're going to do some shadowing with Dark and Decrepit. So if you've never used Dark and Decrepit, it's a great night to see one way to use it and ask any questions you might have. Hi Debbie, hi Annette, hi Joanna, thanks for joining. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to take these off. I love how the finish came out. I love the wet distress. This is an old wooden hamper, so ooh. And I just sealed this and then dried it and closed it. I sealed it about 45 minutes ago. So it's solid, it's just a hamper, it's just something small, quick and easy. I know it's not too impressive when I saw pictures of it. I'm like, what is that? But that's what it is, it's a hamper. So this has all been sealed in Big Top, and I'm going to turn it around so you can see what it looked like before I sealed it, because the magic in all this, I love the painting, but I really love the finishing work. It's like putting the cherry on top. You know, it's I think when all the magic happens, when you pop your color, when you do your highlights and your lowlights and your shadows. So, all right, so this is how it looks before you seal it. After, I don't know if you can see, I've got the wood shiny coming through. The Liquid Sunshine was the first layer I put on, so I pulled that up. And what I'm going to do is just seal it with some Big Top. I don't know if y'all use this. I use Big Top and wax. I also love waxing. The reason I chose Big Top on this is because I'm thinking it might end up in a bathroom, and I think the Big Top will seal better than wax for that application. All right, so, and then typically when I use Big Top, it's the Dark and Decrepit I use as opposed to the dark wax to do my shading. It's just kind of the combo that I use. So I'm using, it's got these little, I don't know how much you can see that, it's got these little like screw covers here, so I'm just trying to get it in there. And I am using the DIY brush. I love this brush. This is, I'm blanking on the name, I was just going to say it. Give me 10 seconds, I use this all the time, I'm blanking on the name. I call it my everything brush. I love putting my sealer on with it. So look, you can just see as soon as it hits how it deepens the color and really pulls out. Like I can see the mermaid tail here. Love it. And if you've never used the DIY paint, when I do workshops, it's kind of scary for people because of how much the color changes between what it looks like in the jar, what it looks like when you're painting it on, what it looks like when it's dry. Then they freak out because this is not the color they chose. But as soon as you put the top coat or your wax on it, it comes right back. This is called the blending brush. That just popped into my head, along with some other things. Oh my gosh, you guys. All right, typically I don't paint over hardware, I take it off, but this being a hamper and all, the hardware's not real fancy, so I just kind of left it on like this. And I think it looks better blending because it's that batwing hardware anyways that I'm not real fond of that. All right, so the Big Top usually takes about a half hour to dry. I'm just going over because I see a couple of maybe drips, but the rest of it's fine. Now that is a totally different color than what we started, and it's going to lighten up a little bit as it dries. So I'm just going to put my top on here. We're going to turn it around and we're going to do some dark and decrepit. Hi, Andina, how are you? Welcome. First time viewer, thank you. So how many of you use dark and decrepit? How many of you have ever used it? I'd say raise your hand, but I won't see you. So, hey Melissa, I'm gonna close this again and turn this around. Make sure I'm in the right spot. Okay. I'll show you a close-up of this when we're done here. So it did lighten up a little to what we just saw. All right, so the dark and decrepit, it's one of our patinas. And I use it, it has several uses. Tonight I'm going to use it kind of like you would use a dark wax. I have used it as a glaze. And I've used it as a stain, like you can take a raw piece of wood and wipe it right on there and it goes on like a stain. It's beautiful. This is going to be kind of like a glaze or a wax. What I don't do though, so it's a nice dark rich brown. The first time I used it just like I use a glaze, and I don't use it like that anymore because I overeat. So typically a glaze you would put on it has some translucency in it. This doesn't. It's got a lot of high pigment. It's not really translucent. So, you know, a glaze you would coat on and then wipe back. I don't do that with this because when I did do that one time only, I wasted a lot of product. I felt like you don't need to. So here's what I do. I put it only where I want it. And then I've got some wet towels. I'm going to get one ready here. I just have some in. And then I also always, as you know, here I applied the big top first because if you don't, the paint is so porous it's going to soak in and stain your paint. So by applying your big top before this, if you want to use it as a glaze or to do shadowing, you have more opportunity to move it around to get more or less. If you do it straight on your paint, it's going to stain it, you're going to have it dark, and you won't be able to lift it up. So these are all things that I've learned from doing this for a while. So I'm going to pass that tip along to you. Hi, Linda. Hey, Michelle. Hi, Tracy. All right, so I have a little bit on a brush here. And basically what I'm going to do for shadowing, I want to go anywhere where there are kind of creases, indents, where the wood meets the wood, where the trim is changing, okay? So I'm just going to brush it on. And it's probably, I want it a little bit subtle, like I don't want to totally cover up. All right, I'm going to use a bigger brush. I have a backup little, these are just art brushes I'm using for this. I don't want to totally cover up the pretty yellow that I have in there, so I'm just going to now we have a gray patina too, a new one, and if I hadn't distressed, I don't know who's tried this one, if you haven't, if I hadn't distressed back to the wood, I just think that the brown looks better on this, but you would use that the same way. You could use the barnwood patina the same way you use this. I'm just trying to kind of match my tones. Drag some a little bit along here. I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up. Can you see it? Down a little bit. How's that? Your next purchase. I use this a lot, and a little goes a long way. It's pretty easy to use, especially if you've sealed. All right, let's just go all the way along here. I'm just going to put it on and then wipe it back after. It's not drying too quickly because of the big top, so I'm not afraid of having it get stuck on there. So here, let's just go for it. I'm going to kind of slap it into these areas. And And yes, I am slopping it because we're gonna blend it in a minute. So you can see where I'm going. This is all where the wood kind of meets. It's indented. It's got seams. Okay, let's try that first. All right, and then I just have a cloth with a shop cloth with a little bit of water on it. See how it's lightening and blending right there. It's not lifting any of my paint because I'm sealed. I've already done the distressing part. And so you can see it where it's darkening here. That's actually not dark and decrepit. What that is actually, it's just wet my paint a little bit, so that'll dry that dark spot. Okay, I'm feathering it out right here. Nice. I've got some striations going. What do you think? Pretty easy. You got plenty of time to make what you like. Jackie, this I'm putting on dark and decrepit right now. But it is painted with two of the new colors and mermaid tail. It's painted, this is done in blue iris, liquid sunshine, and mermaid tail. I think it was 2 weeks ago I did this, because last time I did the gold leaf peacock on a platter. This was a good opportunity for me to take something and make it look nice and worn. Because it's just the right size for that. All right, I'm not sure if you can see the difference or not, but I can see it here, and I'm liking it. So now I'm going to maybe pull some down around here. So where I've already got a lot of the paint worn off here in the distressing. So let's just see how it looks if I start just pulling. Now I'm just pulling some round into it. And I don't know if I said this, but this has, the patinas have top coat in it already. Okay, so I probably won't top coat this again. All right, I'm loving that. So I'm doing this a little bit like I would a dry brush. I'm spreading it out along, trying to get some striations. You see them? Okay. I love playing with this stuff. I love not having total plan of what I'm doing and just having the piece kind of say, oh, I don't think I'm done. I need a little bit of this. Okay, let's get along the bottom. I think actually a couple weeks ago, everything was a couple weeks ago, I used this and the new patina to stain a board, so you got to see how to do that too. I use this product a lot. It's good to have in your arsenal. All right. Now I'm just going to kind of eyeball. I just love how it adds dimension to a flat area. I think that's kind of what. And I don't want to have any marks where I can see where the brush started and stopped. So even though I'm kind of doing that here, I can go back and blend it. See, it's just blending right in. Now, if you don't want the lines, this is much harder to use, and I have actually not perfected that. I can do kind of a cloudy effect. It kind of reminds me of like the 80s sponge painting, but I I kind of like the lines better if I'm working with wood, and I just go with the wood grain. All right, let's turn and do the side while that dries. I think that looks pretty cool. I kind of wish it was a buffet now, so I had like a bigger piece to do. All right, here we go. It was hard to decide when to stop. I gotta tell you, when I was, let's do a little bit of this, because I feel like my brush is getting stuck. This is just water. When I was doing the wet distressing, it was really hard to decide when to stop, because I just, you know, with the wood coming through and the colors and the layering, it just like the more it was pulling off, the cooler it looked. But again, I didn't want it, you know, I wanted to keep some paint on it, and I wanted it to look somewhat natural, like natural wear. So, and I don't like the polka dot kind of look, so I had to decide to stop. All right, I think I'm going to put a bunch kind of around, if you can see this, I call them bat wings, I don't know, I take them off of a lot of little furniture. I don't particularly like them. But this is something. Ooh, wait, I could use our, you know what would be perfect on this? If it's not too late, because I already got it wet with other stuff, is our Decrepit dust. Would be kind of perfect on that. Let me grab it, and we'll just play with it, but yeah, let me grab one. It's saying I need Decrepit dust. I need to listen to it, you guys. All right, where have I put mine? I'm going to grab a new one here. Decrepit dust. I'm not going to use the white. I'm going to use the brown. And I'm going to grab brush. And then usually I put it on with wax. So let's grab a clear wax. I'm going to just use my fingers to put it on. Sorry. This is what happens when you listen to the furniture. You have to go and go forth and create. Oh, thanks, Tracy. She loves how I go for it. You know what? This is why I've always had a hard time doing what I'm told. So that means I have a hard time with customs. This is what I love to do. I like to just go within the moment. All right, so I have not used this yet, but I've used a lot of Decrepit dust in the past, and I'm going to use this the way I've always done it. There are different ways to use it, though. All right, here's what I've always done. So this is one of our new products, the Decrepit dust. It comes in white, and it comes in this brown color. The way I have always done that is by applying some wax. So you're going to get an area kind of wet with the wax, because that's what the Decrepit dust is going to stick to. Have you, who's used to Decrepit dust? Has anybody ever used that? Actually, what do we call it? Decrepit dust. Okay. I've heard it called dark and decrepit. Other powders like antiquing powders. All right. I would normally use a brush. It would take me a minute to find one that has clear wax on it as opposed to something else. So I'm just going to use my fingers. And I'm just putting it all over the hardware and around, like in these. What I want it to do is, where the hardware is sticking up, I want the dust, the Decrepit dust, to get right in there. Because if that's where it would stick. If this was sitting somewhere and it was yucky and old and collecting dust and getting decrepit, this is where it would sit. Now this is going to make a little bit of a mess because I'm not going to lay it down, which is fine. If this was something I really cared about how it landed, I would. But you know what? The whole thing is kind of all whatever. So if it a little bit sticks down here, then I don't care. All right, let's just give this couple minutes to, it's not going to dry, but set up a little bit, because our wax doesn't have any solvents, so it's not going to dry. but maybe I don't want it to be quite as wet as it is when I first put it on. Okay, so I think let's get along in here with the dark and decrepit. Back here, down on the bottom here where they would be kind of shadowing. I'm just using the same cloth still. Just add in a little bit, blend this up. I've got some divots here. I love it when those look dark inside of the divots. I don't know if anybody even uses hampers anymore. It's just that I needed something small, and I only do pieces that are actual solid wood. So a friend said, I have a hamper, and I said, sure, if it's wood, I'll take it. I'll buy it. Oh, we could do the top too. Okay. Alrighty, now. All right, I have a soft brush actually that I have used for decrepit dust because, like I said, I've got some gray and some other colors that I've had for many years. It's just a soft brush, great for dropping into some light. See, it's already full of. Okay, maybe I should get that out of there since I'm not sure what color it is. Okay, and I am just going to dip it right into this. Hey Charlotte, how are you? Hi Clara. All right, so when you get your jars, they're not they're filled by weight, not by volume, I believe. So they're not going to be filled up to the top. This is how they're supposed to look. I'm just opening this one up. All right, I am going to dip my brush into this a little bit, knock it off. I'm assuming there's some on there. You can't really see. Okay. And then I'm just gonna, oh, okay, you can see that just fell all over the place. All right, so I don't like wasting, so hold on one second here. Let's see, let's take a plate and try to catch some of this that's fallen off. There we go. Now I'm gonna catch my powder that falls because I feel like doing this kind of heavy-handed because when this all dries, you're going to take a clean brush, dry brush, and wipe it off, and then it's just going to stick nice and neatly right into those spots. I'm not going to move it around too much. All right, can we see that? I'm going to look on the camera to see. Everything looks very stripy because it's wet and drying, and so it's kind of stained the paint a little bit while it's drying. All right, I love that. I think we should do it to the other side and maybe find somewhere else to do it. So that's the decrepit dust. What that is great on is if you're doing molds, any mold kind of projects, and you wax your molds, and then you put that on top of it, and it just sticks in a way that it looks a little more different than doing it with wax. It just looks old and crusty, and you can really get a great, it's fun, and you can get a great effect. And this is what fell in the bottom, so I could use that. I'm not going to waste it. All right, that's going to look cool when it gets wiped off. I think I'm not going to use it on there. I'm going to do it on the hardware on the other side. Okay, I'm going to hit that real quick with a heat gun, so I'm not putting wet wax over that. See, so this is what it looks like as it's all starting to dry. You can see this is, how long ago did I do this? And it's lightened up here where it's dried, and this part down here, maybe I had it on a little thicker. It's just taking a little longer. Usually when I'm working on a piece, by the time I'm around the other side, the big top has dried enough for me to go back and do another coat or whatever it is that I'm going to do next. Which is kind of hard to tell on these because we're always using a heat gun to speed everything up. In real time, I don't use the heat gun much. In real time on furniture, as a matter of fact, I usually, like I'm working on a desk now, I give 24 hours between whatever my next coat is going to be just to make sure that, well, because it's a desk and I just want to make sure everything is nice and dry. So this is how we speed it up. All right, I think that's good. Has anybody ever used the Dark and Decrepit from DIY or any older brands? I'm just wondering different ways that I've seen people use it. I think I saw somebody put it into their wax to use it. There's no one way, but this is the way I learned to do it. Not with my fingers, with a brush. Okay, but since this is handy, here we go. I'm just gonna, ooh, okay, that metal is hot from the heat gun. So it's literally melting my wax right now. Wow, okay. I'm just gonna keep going, as long as it's not dripping, I don't care. But obviously I didn't think of that when I was heating this up. So now I'm using a liquid form of the wax. It's totally like, it feels like butter. It feels like hot butter on my fingers. All right, that we're gonna give a second. Anybody have any questions about how to use this? I should show you, hey Veronica, the comment, I'm looking at the comments, I've got my, right down here is where I have my iPad. And the comments aren't scrolling on their own, so I'm trying to scroll so I don't miss anybody. Seal Beach, California. I was just in California last week. You use it for staining. Wait, you use the Dark and Decrepit for staining? I mean, yeah, not the dust, the Dark and Decrepit. I love it as a stain as well. Can you put Big Top over wax? No. Renee, a wax is a resist, and so wax should always be your last coat unless you're trying to layer and like pull paint off. So if you're gonna wax, that'll be your last coat. I usually choose between wax or Big Top. Depending on what the project is, that's kind of how I make my decision. But you don't need both. They both kind of have different applications. As a matter of fact, that's kind of why. So if you use Big Top, but you want to also go back in and do a lot of shading, that's when I use the Dark and Decrepit, which I should probably put a cap on, like I did here. So I'll use this for shading. If I'm waxing, I'll use dark wax for shading. Now you can put wax over Big Top, not the other way around. However, wax really needs something porous to soak into. It's just going to sit on top of your Big Top, so you're not going to get the same kind of finish. So my recipe for that is Big Top and Dark and Decrepit, or wax and then dark wax or black wax. I hope that helps and isn't confusing. Okay. Oh, Kathy, cool. So you're going to be the dust you use on molds and hardware, Charlotte. And Kathy just got her Dark and Decrepit, so I can't wait to see how you like it. Okay, let's see. This is very wet, but it'll still work. So let's see. Let's put our plate underneath it again so that we're not wasting what's falling off, and it's definitely gonna. All right, let's get our brush. Now when I use the brushes for the Dark and Decrepit, I don't use them for anything else. And if I use the white, I'll have a different brush. But look how much. I just want to show you how much, if you're dipping your brush in, how much it picks up. Can you see all that? You don't need all that. And actually, if this piece were laying down, which is normally how I would do it, it would waste less. It would fall less. You know, obviously, whatever fell would all stay right on your piece and not off of it. But I want to get it right up in here. Okay, now I'm just going to pick up from my plate down here and use it. Now I probably will come back tomorrow or whatever day I'm back in my workshop and dust this off. But I want it to be completely dry. I don't want to go back and smudge that. And who knows, knowing me, I can end up doing the whole piece in this by the time I'm done. I like to change my mind. All right, but that, and you know what else this is doing that I didn't think of that I love is I've got some strokes in here because of the way I painted it, and I like to have some texture and brush strokes. It's going right into those too, so you can see some little like lines where it's going in. I think that's really kind of pretty. All right, let's see if I can, without messing up. I'm getting a new, this is the last filming on this phone. I have a new phone. I got it yesterday, but I told my husband I need this phone for tonight because nothing can go wrong. So, all right. So can you see? Now it's all going to be brushed off, and then hopefully where it's all going to be staying is right in. It won't look quite like a big brown blob. It'll be more subtle, and it's going to stick in certain spots. And then this is all what's happened on the ground there. All right, let's turn this around so I can show you some of the patina on here, nice and close, trying without shadows. Oops. All right, so you can see these brown kind of striations. If the phone is even, if this is in the right spot, is in the, I pulled this down, that's dark and decrepit. And you saw me apply it, but you can see where I left kind of some stripes on it. But I just love the finish on this and the top, which probably is kind of shadowy. Like, look at this right here. I was so excited when I saw this. It's just textured paint. And when I wiped it back, it was showing, I can actually kind of feel where I didn't keep sanding it off because I just love the texture. So yeah, that's that. I guess I'm done with this project. I'm certainly not starting another one. Let me just show you actually how far I've gotten on the sign that I started a couple weeks ago. I need to finish projects, not start new ones. Okay, so this isn't sealed. So I don't know if you guys remember this. I added the welcome. This is stained in dark and decrepit, and then also the barnwood patina. And I just have to decide if I want to, so all of these colors are going to brighten up. Those are all the new colors, and they're not sealed yet. But I need to decide if the rest of it looks too empty, or if I should add something to it. So I don't know what you think, but that's as far as I've gotten on this one. I probably ought to finish it before pumpkins are like out of season, which they kind of already are because Christmas stuff is up. Okay, anything you see tonight, I've got available on my website, and you can see all the videos that everybody on here makes, all the DIY retailers, some very talented folks. All the videos are in the video section of the page. So head on over to my page and give me a follow if you don't already. I'd love to see you over there at Serendipity House LLC. Have a great and safe weekend. Thanks, everybody. Happy Friday night.